Our player's backpack is only so spacious, we need to give the player the option to discard items. We will be skipping the examine item option for now, just because it's a bit more complicated than dropping. So we're going to go to dropping and then we'll come back to examining. You might not want to be able to discard every item, however, as some may be essential to your game. So we need to add another boolean to our struct. So go to blueprints, structs, item data, and we can add a new boolean. We'll ask can be dropped. And we'll make the default to true. So in the BPC inventory, we want to create a new function for drop item. As always, we'll add a input for the index so we know which slot we are talking about. And we can create a local variable, call it local index. And then we want to get the item data at this index. We can also create a local variable for the amount, local amount. And then we can just check if the amount is greater than 0. To make sure we actually have something to drop. If I could plug this in, there we go. So if this is true, if we do have something we can drop, we want to create a for loop. Just a regular for loop. And the last index will be the local amount minus 1. And the reason we're subtracting 1 is because the first index starts at 0. In the for loop body, we can call our remove item function with the index as the local index. On completed, we want to close the drop-down menu, so we'll just get our inventory menu ref and close drop-down menu. And let's just call this function in our inventory drop-down menu widget. So when we click on the drop button, this one right here, we're going to create an onReleased. And we can just copy this player ref BPC inventory and call drop item. And the index will be our slot index. So now, if we press play and we pick up some items, and we can click here and we can hit drop, and it just completely removes our items. It incinerates them into nothing. They don't come back in our world, they're gone forever. If you want to spawn the items back in the world when you do this, you do it here in the drop item function. If you want the items to be gone forever, though, similar to Resident Evil, you are already done with the episode. But for the people who want their items to spawn back in the world, we need to add another variable to the item data called pickup actor. So we can go into our struct item data, and let's add a variable, and this will be called our pickup actor. And this will be of type BP pickup actor master, and we want it to be a class reference. I'm also going to use these arrows just to move it up a little bit, just for organization purposes. So let's close that. And we need to, once again, go to our blueprints, actors, inventory, and compile our master. And then back in these two, we can open them up. And here we have a pickup actor. And we need to set it to the correct pickup actor that we have. So we have a pickup actor for flashlight battery. And in our door key, we have pickup actor for door key. Back in BPC inventory, we want to call a line trace by channel and then spawn the actor after we close the drop-down menu. The reason we're calling a line trace is because if we wanted to drop the actor about 300 units ahead of us, we'd probably be fine if we were looking somewhere like this. But if we were looking directly at the wall here, it would spawn, without the line trace, it would spawn 300 units ahead of us on the other side of this wall. We don't want that, so we cast a line trace, and instead it would spawn right where it's hitting the wall, and it would fall to the ground right there. So in our, right after here, we can just call a line trace by channel, and then we want to call a spawn actor from class. For which actor we're using, we'll get it from the item here. So let's just make a local variable for that as well. Oops, I made that a regular variable. Let's delete that. Call this local class. And here in spawn actor, we're just gonna do the spawn actor first, and then we'll do the line trace. We'll get our local class, and we need to, this is not the item we want to spawn, because we want to spawn the pickup actor, not the actual inventory item. So we will get class defaults, and then we will break this, and now we have our new pickup actor variable. We can close that again. Now for where we want to spawn it, this is where we use our line trace, and to do this we need a reference to our character. So here in our begin play, let's actually take this up, create a custom event called initialize, as we've done with many of our blueprints. Plug that into here, and we can just break this from resize. Now me compiling gives us errors, and that just comes from our drop item because it doesn't know where to spawn this. We can ignore that for now because we'll be fixing it later. We need a reference to our player character, and after all this we can cast to L1 character and get player character from our object and promote this to a variable. We'll call it player ref. And then in our begin play, we can just call initialize. And these errors we're getting are just the same ones in our drop item. But now we have our player ref. We can get that. We can get our camera. Should be at the bottom. And we will get the camera's world location. That'll be the start. The end will be to get the forward vector, and we will multiply this by a float. This will be the length of how far you want it to spawn in front of you. I'll just go with 200, and we add these two together, and that goes into our end. And then we need to break the out hit result. So pull that out a bit. We can break this. And we also want to split the transform. And for the location, we need a select node. And the condition is the return value from our line trace. So basically we're asking if our line trace actually hit something or if it didn't. If it didn't, we just want to get the end of this line trace, which should be out in the open world because it didn't hit anything. We get this by just getting the trace end. If we did hit something, however, we don't want to use the trace end. We want to use just this location of where it hit. So we can actually test this out now. So we can pick these all up, and if we're looking out into open space and drop these, it has now been dropped into open space, which is great. And if we're kind of looking up against a wall and drop them, they spawn being pushed up against the wall. Now the other thing we want to set is we want to make sure we are dropping, when the pickup actor is spawned back in the world, we want it to have the same amount that we're dropping from our slot. So just have these have 6. If we drop these, we want to make sure those there have 6. If we pick them back up, it's only 1. We want to make sure they have 6. And this is very easy. We can just go into our PPC inventory. After we spawn the actor, we can just set the amount from our actor to our local amount. And that's why we created a local variable from this. So we can compile and save. We can actually print a string of the amount to make sure. Hit play. Can pick all of these up, and these have 3, so let's drop these, and we see 3 up there. And we pick it back up, and it gets us 3 again. Drop these, 8. Drop these, 1. 1. And we are good. If you want the items to fall when they drop, after this print string, or we can delete the print string, after we set this amount, we can just get the static mesh from here. Scroll all the way down, get static mesh. And we can just set simulating physics to be true. We hit play, and we can pick these up and drop them again, and now it falls to the ground. Now there's a couple problems with this. One is our sphere is not connected to our static mesh. If you see, if we make our sphere collision, if we make it visible, so if we search hidden in game, if we make that false, we can now see the spheres in game. So let's pick this up and let's drop it, and you can see the mesh is falling and the sphere stays the same, and we don't want that. And the fix for this is in the pickup actor master. We just have to make the sphere a child of the static mesh. You just have to be careful that you're not resizing your static mesh. The scale right here is all 1, because if you do, say it's like 0.2 or something, it sizes the sphere with it, and we don't want that. So now when we hit play and we pick that up and we drop it again, the sphere now falls with it. And I'll just demonstrate with physics against the wall as well. And of course, if you wanted, you could go into your pickup actor master, and you could set this static mesh simulate physics to true by default. That way, these will all fall to the ground, and you could pick them up and drop them, and they just have simulating physics by default. Alright, that'll be it for this episode. In the next one, we will be improving the way we pick up items so it isn't just a overlap event.